This sign is a Harley sign.
What does that say? Pogmothoan?
It's Pogmothoan. It means kiss my ass.
What language?
In Irish or Gaelic.
I thought it said something about pegging.
That's what I thought it was.
No.
I was like, God damn. Oh, never mind. I was like, Jared's a trooper.
Welcome back to the Five Dirty Bikers podcast. Presented by Memphis Shades, the clear choice for custom windshields and fairings for your motorcycle. And Wild Ass Seats, stay in the saddle longer and in total comfort no matter your butt or budget.
Well, we're back for episode number 150. It's been 3 years since we started this shit show.
Almost 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, we're approaching it in a couple of weeks, but goddamn, it went by quick.
Dude, I wouldn't have guessed that we would have got through 20 podcasts when we first started this. And to sit here with 150 is fucking insane.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. The first few were
they were
pretty
so
painful.
bad, dude. They were so awful.
let me-
I was
okay,
like,
so how
nobody's
many-
going to listen to this.
How many did you think you would get to? When you guys started, did you legitimately
We really
think it would be
didn't.
more than a few?
We really, at least I didn't. I had no idea of the longevity of how long the podcast was going to last. All I know is when we first started doing it, it was awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it
really
took a
was.
really long time to record. Our first few episodes took like 3-4 hours to record them. They were bad.
Yeah, it was just really hard. It wasn't very. It didn't make sense. The editing process was a fucking nightmare because of, the way the podcasts were pieced together. Because we just didn't have a very good flow and audio was bad, and it was just it is what it is. But to sit here at 150 is insane.
So how many hours of actually recording do you think have been spent to get 150 final podcast episodes?
Oh,
God
Jesus.
damn.
Well,
It's a good question.
that is a good question because I would
Counting
think
editing, maybe 4 hours an episode, 3.5 hours an episode.
Well, if they recorded 3 hours, just get 1 hour plus editing on top of that. That's probably more like
Yeah, it used to take
6
Well, that was
to
the
8.
first.
Yeah. I mean, some are easier than others, but I mean, if you take everybody's work every week with recording the podcast, editing the podcast, promoting the podcast, the social media post,
Yeah.
all the stuff that we do behind the scenes, I mean, it's a part-time job for everyone, I
Yeah.
think, on a weekly basis.
I would guess that there's at least 30 hours a week committed to the podcast of time that it takes to produce one podcast. Is probably 30 hours a week, roughly, I would say, committed time. But
Between all
know,
of
if you
us.
talk about
person
recording-
hours, right? That's between all of us.
yep, if you talk about like recording time and editing time, it's probably 5 hours per podcast of just recording and editing time. And that's now when we're good at it, when we can record for an hour and 15 or hour and 20 and get a night, and get 60 good minutes. Right. I mean, it
Yeah.
used to even when we were probably a year into it, it still took us 90 minutes at least to get a good hour podcast. Right.
Yeah,
So
we had
it's
at least
taken us
90 or 120 minutes, and then we spent countless hours editing, going through and like taking little dead spots out, trying to get little dead spots out, and then just trying to figure out the audio editing to begin with, just to get it to sound good.
Yeah, the levels and all that. 'Cause
levels
I'll
and-
tell you that as far as the editing standpoint, it probably takes me 4 or 5 hours to edit a podcast right now.
Yeah.
And you've got it down too, right at this point, right?
Yeah, because I mean, you have to go back, you have to listen all the way through it. You have to pick out like we do the little intro piece. That's usually something funny to try to get people hooked in to listen to the rest of the episode, right?
That usually doesn't work, but we try anyway.
But
Well, you're doing something right if we made it this far.
But usually I don't pick that out till I'm going through the edit, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll usually get it pieced together to where I know it's going to start, and then I'll just go through the rest of it. And you got to listen through it. You got to try to find. I mean, I try to be a perfectionist about it. I try to find little things. I try to either clip up and mesh together, or like Tony said, taking out dead space. You know, that's terrible for a podcast to have more than a couple of seconds of dead air.
I think the other part too is just thinking about, you know, on the backside, and we probably talked about this before, but coming up with a legitimate topic that we think people might be interested in, that we either haven't discussed a part of, right? And then for the people like listening in, we, you know, and sometimes we don't agree on what we think might be good or what we think is going to hit. And so that's, you know, part of a discussion process that happens during the week when we're sharing ideas back and forth. And sometimes we're like, oh, this would make a good podcast, but we aren't prepared to do that. We need to do X, Y, and Z first. We need to find a guest. We need to do this before we can put out maybe an idea that we have. And so some of those things just don't happen. And sometimes we fly
have
into
talked motorcycles to fucking death.
We have.
I mean, we really have.
Yeah, but, you know, before you move along too quickly, that little professional process that Ryan just described, I would love to share with you some of the texts that go back and forth. I assure you, they are not that professional in discussion.
The thing that I think is great is that after 150 episodes, the cadence for us has gotten really. I think our cadence is good. Tony did that on purpose. He just didn't say a fucking word.
Can you just tell us what cadence means, please?
Yeah, so our banter, our discussion between all of us is very conversational. And it's not easy for people on the outside looking in to have a conversation when you're not walking over the other people or talking over them. Because when you're recording it and putting it out, if you're talking over someone,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, see this motherfucker.
What the fuck is he saying? I don't understand.
The cadence is the rate of what your head bobs up and down.
That's also true. He's not wrong.
And if you don't have a good cadence, you might as well just not even try.
Right.
Girls got rhythm. I've had good feedback from people who listen to us. I mean, I don't like to brag personally. I always feed off of feedback, really, because the way I look, there's always room for improvement. There's always something you could do better. But the feedback's good. So if you're fucking listening, please go over to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you listen to this motherfucker on and leave us a review.
For sure.
For sure.
That helps us out a lot to get that. And if you don't want to leave that and you want to be part of the community, just join our Discord because it's, you know, free.
Fucking free.
We get a lot of ideas from that Discord too.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of good discussions and a lot of feedback comes in through Discord.
And if we have any female riders out there, we would invite you to join the Discord also. We have a women's discussion channel that we just started for women riders. So we've laid some ground rules down about a safe place for women riders to have conversations. So if you're worried about that, that's not going to be an issue. I think in the very beginning, we didn't have any, I don't know, for lack of a better word, clout, right? So when we were asking people, we were just hoping that people would agree to come on the podcast for whatever reason. And once you've built up an audience and you've built up a reputation and your name gets out there, it's a lot easier to, you know, hit up somebody on Instagram and say, hey, do you want to come on the podcast and be a guest? And I think that in the last almost 3 years since we've been doing this, podcasts in general have become more well-known and even more well-known in the motorcycle industry. So it's something that people are a lot more open to.
A lot more open to. And plus, you know, when we first started the podcast, we basically just knew each other through social media and a few text messages. We, you know, it was kind of, I'm not going to say five strangers, but it really was. And we were trying to do it. And over time, you know, lack of better things, I mean, you guys are like some of my best friends. You know what I mean? I look forward to getting on the podcast every week just to talk to you guys. So, I mean, I think that really helps out a lot. I mean, just time and getting to know everybody and being comfortable. It really helps with the cadence and being able to know how far you can push before somebody gets pissed off at some of the jokes. You know what I mean? At first you don't know how far you can go because you don't want to make somebody mad. But after you get to know those people, you can, especially with Ryan, I know how far we can bounce off.
Oh my gosh.
Bounce off each other.
I'm surprised Ryan didn't have a
have
black eye.
You guys are
Me and
bouncing
Ryan
off each other when your cadence
go at
is
each other
going
pretty
correct.
hard, but we know
that's true.
it's just in good fun, man. It's nothing. It's not personal. It's just having fun. So,
It's
but
true.
it takes time. It takes time to be able to feel comfortable to do that, and I think that was been a big part on the way to 150. There's
on
so
here,
many
too.
more to still, but I mean, we've had a ton of people. We've had the privilege to sit and talk to a lot of big hitters in the motorcycle community.
Well, I think that speaks to the community too. One of the things, I know this isn't about the 150th episode, but that's one of the things we talk about all the time is how there's this kind of misconception about motorcyclists. And just the fact that people are willing to come on the show before you guys were established is pretty amazing. And all the people that have supported you guys in producing this even. I can't say that there's like a really memorable one since I've joined. I'm not like nothing's jumping to mind. But the one that I always remember that impacted me the most was the one when you guys did the episode about making other motorcyclist friends. That's when I really started interacting with you all and like joined the community, and it was really impactful for me. I mean, it took a while to meet Tony, considering we only live an hour away. But
I'm a crotchety old bastard, though.
I can't. Seriously though, the first few times that I reached out to you, and you're like, "Yeah, let's go riding," and I think it took us like a year to ever actually finally get together. And I remember coming home and seeing Jared and being like, "I'm not sure that I'm ever going to meet this guy. I don't think he actually does want to ride with anyone."
Was he just giving you different excuses every time? Like, oh, I'm too busy shoveling fart crumbs out of my jockeys.
Exactly.
Those fart crumbs are bad, dude. It's bad as clitty litter.
Oh,
He
my
was-
God.
He was saying things like, "Oh, it's too windy today." Oh, shit.
Thanks for that, Ryan.
You feel how cold it is? It's like 60 degrees outside. I can't ride when it's 60 degrees.
It gets dark at 5 p.m. now. You crazy?
Have you guys seen the rain? Look it's raining. In Florida. It's raining
Dude,
in Florida right
speaking
now. I
of
can't
rain.
ride.
On the way home
Florida.
today.
What the fuck is in your hand? What are you waving around there?
Yeah, what is that?
That's my dust blower.
Yeah, sure it is.
Yeah.
flip it
But
around the
on
other
the
way,
way
it's a
home
butt
today,
plug.
dude.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think we drove through a tornado. I've never fucking encountered anything like that in my life.
Oh,
Couldn't
you
see-
should have been in the car with me and Ryan when he came
It was
down here
probably on
last
the
year.
same level, dude. I couldn't see. I mean, the front of the car. There was debris all on the expressway.
Yep.
blown
What?
in.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was so serious.
Me and Ryan couldn't see the lines in the road,
Yeah. No, I was in the same.
and we were
boat.
going like 15.
Yeah,
Tree
I-
branches.
I had
We're
the-
getting hit by
yeah.
tree branches.
My wife was like, "Are you going to pull over?"
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
"No, I'm not. I'm powering through this shit."
Did you see
Were you in the
cows
Hummer?
flying through the air?
No, but boy, it was a serious fucking. I've never driven through anything like that before. I think that was the worst one I've encountered. You know, I always say, peer pressure doesn't work on me anymore, and comments,
I'm
whatever
sorry.
you want to
You say Peter pressure doesn't work on you
Peter
anymore?
pressure. Well, with that pegging sign behind Brittany there, I'm afraid to say anything. I don't
That
know
girl
what
means
kind of
business in
pressure
her house.
is
When
going
you
on over there.
when you put the pegging sign right up behind your head, you know that she means business.
Peg,
It means strong business,
peg
dude.
McGroin. Is that what it
Yeah.
says?
It's it's Peg McGroin.
One of the things I take most pride in about this show is the fact that we're able to make a little bit of a splash in this medium, and none of us are in the industry.
Yeah.
That is really cool. That's yeah.
Because when you look at the charts or who else is doing this type of media, a lot of them are either in the industry, affiliated with some big dog. A lot of them aren't just common people that are usually on the other side of the counter, right? Because I could think of like the guests we're going to have on next week, Jace Hudson from Fast Life, which I'm extremely excited for.
Yeah, excited
to talk with that guy, because it's another perspective of doing this. Mm-hmm. And he's in Sturgis right now, so it would be great to hear all about that. Like I haven't been to Sturgis, and I plan to go sometime. And he's in the industry, so I kind of want to see what that looks like, because I know that's what feeds a lot of his discussions and episodes on his podcast. Is he's got people, other painters, other builders and stuff like that are usually what feeds his show. So it's I like that we're a little diverse in that aspect. And it's something different to listen to, other than somebody else is in the industry. Somebody else is in the industry. It's just,
I think
like Dave said, I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's kind of something different,
Yeah, I think people appreciate our honesty too when we do talk about stuff, because we're not swayed by things. So if we have a product and it's a piece of shit, I mean, we tell you it's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? If we don't like it, we don't like it. So I think, I'll take Wild Ass Seats, for instance. We like their product. We believe in it. You know what I mean? And obviously, the people that listen to the podcast are starting to believe in it too, because I saw a lot of them at FDBM. Mm-hmm. The same with Memphis Shades. I mean, we believe in their products, and they're top notch.
Yeah.
And they even have the sponsorships from them two businesses. I mean, that's something I never thought we'd have when we started this, sponsorships.
No. Yeah,
and in fact, interestingly enough, I just got a message from Craig from Wild Ass. He's the owner of Wild Ass Seats, and he messaged me this week, and he said he was at Sturgis, and a guy walked up to him in the morning, so when they were opening up their booth, and said, "Hey, I came here because I heard about you guys on the Five Dirty Bikers podcast." And I said, I was like, no shit, did that really happen? And he was like, yeah, for sure. And I thought that was really cool that somebody was going to search out his product at Sturgis, which is like the mecca of vendors, right? And somebody went and found his booth and told him that he heard about us or heard about his product on the podcast, which I thought was a very cool situation. But again, like Tony said, it's a great product. I mean, I put that thing on. I haven't taken it off all season, so to wash my bike.
No, it's I think
fuck, dude, he's got it strapped to his ass. When he's off the bike, he takes it everywhere he goes.
Maybe I do. I mean, Brittany can't use it because of the whole pegging thing, but
it's good. It's good for after that. It's relieve the soreness.
Jared can't use it because of the pegging thing. You got that wrong.
I used it on my seat and I never found it again.
When I enter the freeway or super slab or whatever you want to call it, I don't fuck around. I make sure that my bike enters the freeway at or significantly above the posted freeway speed, so I'm the aggressor moving into traffic.
The posted freeway speed, I believe, was 70 miles an hour.
Yep.
And when I looked down at my speedometer before we even merged, I was in 3 digits.
That was on the fucking ramp.
That was on the ramp before we even hit.
Miles an hour.
He had to make sure he was going fast enough when he got off the ramp.
I had triple digits on my speedometer when I hit the freeway.
He was clenching his knees on his tank to try to keep from flying off the back of his bike.
I mean, I just was afraid I was going to bat wing.
His legs,
he lost the only 2 hairs that he had on his head went flying right out from underneath his helmet.
Yeah, like that dinosaur in Jurassic Park. It just went I was afraid I was going to bat wing and parachute.
So it sounds like Dustin's addicted to Uranus, man, because he's
Dustin digs Uranus, man.
He's gone to Uranus twice in 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
I'm a fan.
This is third time this year so far. He'll be there
Yeah.
4 times this year.
They said the
Oh,
third
that's true.
times. They
That's
said
true.
there's nothing like the third time in Uranus.
Well,
God
the
damn
third
it, I
time
win.
it's a habit, right?
It's a habit now.
First time's
Yeah.
an accident, second time's a whoopsie, and the third time's an addiction.
And this is hilarious too because
4th time, you meant it for sure.
Yes, that's when you start tongue punching.
Oh God, it went there.
I tell you, we missed out on a nice cooling process when we didn't go down to that creek because that
I didn't
water-
even know that thing was back there, man.
Oh man, it's a diamond in the rough back there. It's awesome.
I guess it is.
In the
You
rough.
take a piece of charcoal in Uranus, it comes out a diamond.
There aren't people skinny dipping back there or anything, are there? It's not one of those creeks, is it?
Dustin was.
No,
If I was to jump in a creek skinny dipping, my balls would float to the top like a goddamn life preserver.
I guess that's one way to do it.
Tony,
What are
flip
those,
over and
Tony
be bobbing
Water
upside
Wings?
down.
No.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
I'm gonna have a little brown sign made up that I can stick right on the shore. It says ball wash station.
Those waters are clear. We don't want them murky. You know what we ought to do for Hogs and Frogs? We ought to make custom bag toss. But
Glory
Tony could
hole,
just
glory
do
hole,
glory holes all
cornhole.
over.
Oh, that's funny.
Paint
I tell
a
you
glory
what,
hole on
you're-
one side and starfish on the other.
If you're a listener and you walk up to our tent and you're wearing a glory hole Halloween costume, we'll give you a free sticker.
There you go.
That's a lot
See
to
how
ask
many
for.
glory
Straight
holes
what
you
that
can
looks
get.
like.
That's what I was thinking.
What we need to do is a glory hole cornhole set, but instead of we'll have the glory hole, but we'll have a dong that you throw the rings on. It'll be like ring toss
Toss a dog.
instead of
Those are two different
throwing a
games.
bag in a hole.
We'll go down
That's
to
just
the
ring toss.
We can go to
But
the
on a
jerk-off
cornhole,
house
on a
and get
glory
some
hole
live
board.
for that.
yeah. David's right. We'll go down to the jerk off palace and get the dog toss.
I do have some rings I can bring.
Oh,
I'm
that
sure you
doesn't
do.
shock me.
Oh my God, Brittany! Please,
Sharks doesn't have shit on
put
Brittany.
those in the dishwasher before you bring them, please.
Come on now,
Hey, we could do
they
that.
gotta
We
fit
could
over
charge
something, and we
50
don't need
cents a
those little
dong,
pinky
man.
rings.
It's like
Oh, that's
it's like
true.
lawn
It's a
darts.
dong to play the glory hole game.
Yeah, you guys ever play lawn
How
darts?
kid friendly do these games need to be at this event we're going to?
The lawn darts, the jarts.
Do we want to get invited back again?
Well,
First question.
Hey, they
Our
were
yard
in the-
games went from saved to very not okay.
Listen, this is the way that I look at it. They know what they're getting themselves into because before this whole thing went down, Tony renamed the park Rub-a-Dick Park, which is stuck. I mean,
hey man, we ain't playing croquet
That's
over here.
true.
that's right. And when I was with Tony when we met with them, I asked him what kind of weather we could expect in September because I said it's hotter than Satan's asshole out here right now, and they just about spit their drinks out on the table. So they indicated very kindly to me that it's likely going to be that hot in September too. So
Well, let's just say if we have any games at Rub-a-Dick Park, it's not going to be croquet.
that's right.
Toss
We
a
should
dog.
do that though. We should do a glory hole game. Get it in the hole, you get a sticker. One toss per family member.
One
Must
toss
be
per
over the
family
age of
member.
18 to play.
Suddenly stickers got very expensive.
Or what we do is we have a wall with a bunch of holes in it, and it's like whack-a-mole with a dildo, and you gotta grab it. If you grab one, then you get a free sticker.
You get to put you get blindfolded and you get twirled around 10 times.
So Tony, are you the one that's gonna go buy all the dildos?
You just need one. It's like whack-a-mole. They just gotta have fast reflexes. You gotta grab it.
following the Five Dirty Bikers on social media. Find us on Facebook and look us up on Instagram and TikTok at Five Dirty Bikers.